Hello everyone, I guess Joe, hopefully you're having a wonderful day. We are back again with another PWCC/Fanatics weekly review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auction off this week. As always, if you enjoy these, make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly, especially today, considering this is my second time recording. I got to the very end of the recording before this and everything just went kaput, so we gotta start fresh, go again. I've opened up all the tabs and we're gonna do it. I'm gonna keep the same level of enthusiasm. I might go through it a little bit quicker, but that's okay. And so here we are over on the site. To be fair, this week actually a little bit lighter of a week, especially on the lower end. We are starting off at $80, which is low. I mean, typically it's, 100, 200 range. And this week a little bit lower, so we'll go through quicker. I say that, it'll still probably be about 30 minutes or more, but I'm going to try. So to start off here, nothing too crazy. 2011 Monte Carlo Messi. We have this 1912 Lee set that we'll see quite a few of. I haven't seen much of that before, so that's sort of interesting. Again, not too familiar with pre-war UK, which is why I'll skip the Cohen Weenan set here. We have another Lee's above that in the middle here for $84. We also have a Manga Heung-min Son along with a Pedri Auto PSA 10 here from 2021. Topps Chrome out of 75, both those going for about $85. Above that, more pre-war in this row. Again, not a whole lot to add. We see the set on the right quite a bit. That also typically grades pretty high and a fairly decent price for only having 4 watchers, I will say. Also notable, I just like looking at the watchers when I don't know much about something. It kind of tells me where the people are looking, and so this Lee set definitely has some eyeballs even on the players that I haven't heard of. He's got a funny name, though, so I will throw that out there. This John Duran here, a PSA 10 of his insert 2023 Prism, goes for $88. This is numbered out of 25. I did check it on the first run through, but for some reason it's not listed there, so just, adding that. We also have this 98 Xavi Monday Chromo that goes for $91 in a BGS 9. This in a PSA 9 typically closer to like $150, maybe $200 at times, so that's a decent discount for the BGS 9. Then we have a Topps Luis Suarez from the Showcase 2015 set in a PSA 9 that goes for $91. Above that, this Messi Black Label's down a little bit. Some prior sales have been around $130, $150 at times. This goes for $96. We also have the Stoichkov PSA 5 from the 1990 Ediciones Este set. This 5, in terms of prior comps, here we have this $98 sale. Of course, this is the one we just saw. Before this, $156, and then before that one, $66. So I guess it depends on where you want to go off of. Could be good, could be bad, but seems to be smack dab in the middle. I'm not much of a post-playing career guy, but this Franco Baresi didn't strike me as particularly high. A red color match, 10 of 10, PSA 9 auto, kind of cool if you're into that sort of stuff. Above that, we have an Erling Haaland here. The prized footballers in a 9.5 goes for $105. We then have this Wayne Rooney penmanship that goes for $105 as well, along with this Dirk Kicker from 1937 through 1940. This is a Stoffalth. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I gave it a shot. PSA 6, pretty notable keeper for Germany in the 20s, and also a pretty notable set in the 30s to 40s here with the kicker. This is the Fritz Walter rookie album. You also have a lot of other German greats in there as well, so really, really cool one. Great imagery as well, and you do have to be a little careful in terms of seeing if it's stuck on the back. For some reason, some of the other companies didn't do great with that. I don't know if PSA is. I will assume they do. There's been a lot of really high grades going lately. Paolo Maldini 1/1 patch goes for $110. We then have this Asi Dello Sport from 1935, a Rosetta PSA 2 here. We'll see a fair few of the other Italian guys going in this auction as well. This goes for $110. Next to it, we have the Aquarella reprint for $110 here from 1974 in a PSA 1. And then finally on the first page, or page 4 of the 4 that we'll be doing, here we have a 2010 Lionel Messi PSA 8 that goes for $110. I think this is kind of high, especially for 5 watchers. We'll talk more about that later. A PSA 10 didn't do a huge premium over this. We have this Optic Erling Haaland from 2022, PSA 9 that goes for $112. And then we have a Lamine Yamal out of 99 Amethyst from Topps Museum in a PSA 10 that goes for $115. Of course, that was sort of striking, as all Lamine Yamals are at this point. You don't get a lot of comps of the same cards, but just knowing what I saw Lamine Yamal's going for in the summer, in the early fall, it was sort of just like regular Mega Cracks cards doing hundreds of dollars, and now you have numbered Topps Museum cards that barely crack $100 in a PSA 10 grade. So just to show how that sort of aged, and for people that have been around and seen prospects come and go, that's sort of the way that they fare. They start off really high, and over time people realize there's a lot more cards, and we should probably pay a little less. Eventually that sort of figures itself out, and we go again from a new point, but, we sort of have to flush through a lot of his issues at this point. In this row, we have another Lamine Yamal here, the black label in a, of course, a BGS 10, goes for 126 from Topps Now Euro. You also have this Contra Eze out of 9 that goes for 126, along with this Chalmeny PSA 10 that goes for 126 from the 2022 World Cup set. In this row, some vintage here for you. A John Charles from the Baird & Co. 54 set, authentic altered, goes for a little over 100. We then have an Ernest Needham from 1902 Wills that goes for 132. Then finally a 1926 Thompson Top Form Footballers Dixie Dean goes for 132. Looked over on the sales history for this one just to see where it's been, and seems to be doing okay. I mean, there's been a PSA 2 sale here for $76. You also have, I don't know, some other sales around 80. You also have higher sales closer to 175 to 200 at times, and then pre-boom, you got one here for $40. So, you know, up a fair bit from pre-boom, 3-ish X, and not a bad sale, at least compared to some of the other ones. Yunus Musa Red Flood here goes for 132. Yunus Musa doesn't have a ton of rookies in terms of selection. Personally, I'm not a huge Yunus Musa fan. Obviously, I like all the USMNT guys. I just don't think he offers as much as what some people think he does. At the same time, I do like the Floods. I only own maybe like a couple Floods in general just because Obsidian is a brand I don't really like. The non-Floods don't really speak to me, but the Floods look really good, and this goes for 132, which is seemingly an okay number. I'm sure it's down from whenever they first came out, but at the same time, you know, what isn't in terms of modern? Beyond that, 1965 Bergman Beckenbauer PSA 2.5 here goes for 138, and this is probably all down to eye appeal because we'll see a PSA 2 in a second that's sold higher. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the brown staining. I think it's the corners. Now, the back looks really, really clean, I will say. Not a whole lot of signs of removal. Okay, I was looking there. I thought that might have been something, but that's just the spacing in the text. Ultimately, I mean, it's got a lot of discoloration to it, but at the same time, you can read everything, you can see everything. Looks pretty good on the back, probably more so than the front, but 140 on that one, along with this Lamine Yamal Purple Mojo. Again, the Lamine Yamal Mania, just sort of an example of it. I mean, an adrenaline card going for 150, I get it. It says limited edition on there. How limited that is, I don't know, but 150 for a adrenaline card just seems kind of high to me. We have a Duran here. Another one goes for 144 in a PSA 10. And then we have the Xavi PSA 8 that goes for 156. Now, looking at that sale over here, yeah, I mean, down from the last sale at 276, but there was a sale in 2023 for $71 on eBay. And it's taking a second to load, but as we'll come to see, you know, eBay sales not doing all that great, especially on pre-modern in general. This sale in particular doesn't seem like a good sale, but at the same time, it's not horrific. Something that is horrific, though, is if we look up a PSA 7, last one did $15. So, I mean, you know, the 8 doing almost a 10x on this one, pretty good sale. I would also say this is a terrible sale. And just sort of something to warn people about, this was from the eBay PSA account. And, you know, people love the eBay PSA account because you can just submit stuff for grading, then get instant liquidity. I fear pre-modern soccer probably isn't the place you want instant liquidity. There's some places you do. I don't think that's one of them. And I think that that goes to show that that's the case. You know, some things are probably meant for PSA liquidity and selling on their eBay account. I don't think that is. Above that, not a whole lot I can talk about in this row, if I'm being honest. Some decent sales there, but nothing that stands out to me. You got a Cole Palmer here out of 94 from 2022. Impeccable, goes for 174. A Dave Holiday from the 1925 Thompson set here. PSA 3 goes for 180. And again, you know, you love to see fake rookies being listed when it's just clearly not a rookie. I mean, KDB 2012 Topps Fußball Bundesliga, give me a break. PSA 10 goes for 180. And, you know, I'd like to say I don't think many people were fooled, but 26 watchers, I mean, I don't know how many people are collecting second year KDB. I think this is second year. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. I'm just sort of going by memory. At least I know it's not a rookie. Fanatics doesn't, I guess. So, you know, just sort of inexcusable mistakes there. I mean, that's a $200 sale, and I'm not sure how much of that has it baked in that is a rookie or could be a rookie. Again, I don't know. To be fair, his PSA 10 rookies do a much higher number, so they're not that high. But at the same time, you never want to be able or to have yourself convince other people it's a rookie, especially when you're a platform that should be doing right by your buyers and sellers. I mean, they're probably doing right by their sellers on that one, but the buyer, I mean, come on. Doing them no favors, but, you know, what's new, to be honest. Beyond that, 2021 Phil Foden Auto 186, we have this Ferrari Blue booklet here, PSA 2 Vecchi, that we'll see a decent amount of these throughout the rest of the auction. There'll be a few more. Really, really cool in terms of design. Also, the back looks really nice, and I think they're sort of foldable as well. I mean, it's labeled as a booklet, but at the same time, it fits into a normal slab, so really interesting in that regard. We also have this PSA 2 Beckenbauer that sort of speaks to the eye appeal nature and paying for that. This one goes for 200 there. And then finally, a bunch of red items to top off this row. You have the 1912 Lee set that we were talking about here, goes for 200. You have a Darwin Nunez out of 5 PSA 9 that goes for 200 auto. And finally, a Marcus Stella Pele PSA 4 red back that goes for 198. That rounds out the first half of this auction block. Now we go on to page 2, and I do have a win here, so excited about that. First off, we have this 1934 Rosetta PSA 2 that goes for nearly 200. The Optic Erling Haaland was much of a different sort of purchase for me. I don't think I bought a 2020 and beyond card in quite a while, at least if it's not a USMNT guy that I'm just PCing for fun. I mean, this again, I would say is a fun PC. At $200, you can sort of collect really cool modern stuff like this and not feel crazy about it. In terms of the past sales, part of why I feel relatively good is all 3 of these other sales are the same exact card. So this one I got for 198. Before this, 404. On this one from, to be fair, Murozan, which is like the Chinese Schiller. I think it's got to be some sort of consigner that then gets shilled a lot. I'm sure that's what it is. But that one for 400. And then before that, 2 sales at 2,500. So this does sort of speak to what's going on with Haaland in general, which is that the hobby really hasn't taken to him. But at the same time, in my opinion, he's one of the best players of this decade and probably will go down as that. So I was really excited for this. I mean, a gold Panini out of 10 also happens to be jersey number. At the same time, this isn't technically jersey number in the sense that on the card he's wearing 23, but it's 9 out of 10. And for me personally, I think that Haaland's going to be remembered as 9. I don't think that's widely debatable, but at the same time, really, really cool card. I don't have to talk it up a lot. I was happy with it. And, you know, sub $200, this is a lot more collectible than what it used to be at, you know, 2-3K. So a lot more comfortable for me. I'll just put it that way. Next to it, we have a 2012 Messi PSA 10 that goes for 204. Beyond that, we have a purple Pulisic PSA 10 that goes for 216, along with a Dolar Triana for 228 and a 1934 Frank Sue. It also says rookie again on this type of stuff. I can't save you. I don't know if it's rookie or not, but I'm guessing if you're paying $230 for this guy with 7 watches, you probably know what it is. So decent price on that one, and I'm sure the buyers are aware. Beyond that, a bunch of reds in this row. Take your pick. You know, my bias self's probably going with the Pulisic, but at the same time, you got a couple red Mbappes here. A red out of 10 Merlin from 2022, or a red wave from 2021 out of 5. One's a PSA 10, one's a PSA 9. Interesting to compare. You know, would you rather have a red wave out of 5 or a true red out of 10? I'd probably take the true red, especially when it's a PSA 10 compared to the PSA 9, but that's just me. You know, the Pulisic is what it is. Captain America, you gotta love it. Beyond that, we have a Lionel Messi out of 50 prized footballers for 234. We also have a couple Cruyffs here, so take your pick. Do you want a pretty populous PSA 10 here? Pop 1 of 9. The card itself, fairly populous. I mean, you can kind of find them everywhere. But in high grade, a little bit harder. Or the Sicker Verlag here from 68. I think it's 67, 68. This one here in a PSA 1 goes for 252. Beyond that, this 10 Messi goes for 264, which is what I was referencing earlier. The 8 went for a little over 100, so that seems kind of crazy to me. I mean, typically from a 9 to a 10 is going to be a 2 to 3x, so an 8 to a 10 should be way more than like a 2x. Nonetheless, this Monty next to it does 276 in a PSA 2 from the same set we've been seeing a few of throughout this auction. We have a Cristiano Ronaldo Panini World Cup card, PSA 9 at 288. I took a look at this somewhere, and I mean, of course, the graph, you kind of know what you're getting into, but let's look over the last 2 years in particular, and that's sort of where the interest is, at least in my mind. Seems like it's sort of bottomed and then, you know, reverse back up, at least so far. Some of these sales are, of course, best offers where they're probably going on eBay for 400, and then when they get auctioned, they're closer to 300. That's just, you know, sort of the difference between the bid and the ask and all that good stuff. But some of the lowest sales here were down to 175, so, you know, quite the upwards momentum off of that low. You know, I was looking at other grades and a little bit more of the same. I mean, here it seems like they dipped and then have come back up a little bit, but of course here, I mean, there was a big drop from that sale to this one here. I mean, 2,200 to 1,300. Makes you wonder sometimes, but above that, we have this Rui Costa from 92. That went for 312 in a PSA 8. We looked at some other sales here, and a PSA 7 went for 126 recently, so compared to the 7, that's a good sale, but compared to the last 8 sale, not so much at 552. We have a Messi PSA 10 from 2012 that went for 312. Sort of surprised that goes higher than this one right here. I think this one looks better and also is a couple years earlier, but interesting to note. We also then beyond that have the UK Traditions Cristiano Ronaldo for 312 from 2006. Its label is 2004 on the slab though. Then above that we have this Color Blast Messi at 324. I'm not too honed in on Color Blast comps, to be honest with you, but Yeah, I mean, a Color Blast Lionel Messi for about $300 doesn't seem crazy to me. A lot of the time I think, or at least from what I see, the players like Messi and Ronaldo are almost a 10x above most other people. And I see a lot of other Color Blasts doing more than $30 to $40, so I'm just saying. Beyond that, we have a Cruyff 72 Cleveland Petrels that goes for $324 and a PSA 9 pop, 1 of 1 and higher, along with a Taddy PSA 8. I mean, my goodness. That goes for $324. Haven't heard of the player. Again, that could just be my ignorance. Could also speak to a PSA 8 Taddy, but cool to see that go. Beyond that, to end out page 2, we have a 1986 Maradona and a PSA 7 that goes for $336. I did look at some comps. It's basically right exactly where the other comps have been. We have this 35 Rudy Hidden that goes for $350 and a PSA 4. I also looked at his sales, but I closed it. So again, forgive me. I did record this the first time. But I didn't plan to actually look him up the first time. Apparently, this was the highest sale of anything I could find for him, so that was pretty impressive. It's not a rookie, but it is probably a rare French release. A lot of it is hard to find in France, so I think that's what does it there. And then from the 2021 Topps Merlin Chrome out of 10, red Messi goes for $360. So doesn't seem like a crazy price for an SGC 10 Messi out of 10 red, all that good stuff. Maybe that's something you swap on over to PSA Slab and see what you can do. But that takes us to page 1. So we start with a couple Italians here, a Maldini rookie and a PSA 8 that goes for $384. I did look that one up just because, you don't see a lot of these in high grade. So the last one sold for $525 on eBay on a best offer. And then you had an alt sale earlier this year for $460. So this is down from those, but, again, auctions, best offers, you can't really compare them. There's always going to be a little bit of a difference. The last 8 auctioned was earlier this year for $312. So this one's doing pretty good. There was also a $288 sale, $360, $480. So it's been higher, but also, a $200 sale back here. Seemingly doing pretty good, which for me, I wasn't stoked about because, I do want one of these at some point. I just figured there's a few options for these guys, a couple different Italians from this year, Baggio, Maldini. I think they sort of maybe take away from each other, but at the same time, they might be able to sort of work with each other a bit because I think having both of them in the same year kind of makes it a bit more iconic in that way. We have Schiavio here, the booklet that we've been seeing in a 1.5 that goes for $400. Again, a pop 1 of 1, none higher. We have a gold Euro Mosaic Kylian Mbappe out of 10 that goes for $400 in a PSA 9. And then above that, an SGC 8 Messi goes for $408. You don't see a lot of SGC Messi rookies, but that is one right there. A Hero Variation Lamine Yamal for $432, and then an Erling Haaland out of 5 red Finest PSA 9 that goes for $432 from his second year. In this row, a 66 Grout Gold. I do believe this is second year. There's also Grout Gold Franz Beckenbauer rookies from 65, so I think these are different. At the same time, they're certainly different in terms of price. This one goes for $500 because it's a team photo. I think we saw a 65. I want to say it was a Sepp Maier that was the Grout Gold that went for about $1,000, and I don't think that was in great condition, and that was earlier this year if memory serves me correct. Next to it, this Messi PSA 9 goes for $504. Wanted to look that up because we looked up the Ronaldo, so why not? This one, much the same from the all-time perspective over the last couple years. This is actually down just a tad, but most notably, at least to me, is that you're not seeing a lot of sales the last 4 months for this card. This kind of is for everything. I think that there are a lot more cards that are in sort of collectors' hands, which is great for soccer because whenever you have tons of these in non-collectors' hands, they're quick to sell them. They want liquidity. They want their money, and that's hard to get in soccer. Some of this stuff you have to work for. Now, this type of a card, probably not so much. It's a bit more common. People are buying and selling this all the time. But like with the Maldini we were just looking at, there had only been a few sales this year of that card in that grade. And before, there was lots of them every year. And same thing here. If you look back here, there was sales basically every week back in 2023 around the World Cup time. And now, last 4 months, there's been 3 sales, less than 1 a month. Now, of course, it's just this grade, but again, I think it speaks to, cards typically being in more of collector hands than flipper investor type. So I think that's definitely helped with a lot of the retraces we're seeing sort of across the board. Now, of course, there's tons of underlying conditions elsewhere and tons of factors at play beyond just people not wanting to sell, but I think that's one of them. Next we have the 79 rookie. Again, it labels it as rookie. I can sort of understand this, but yeah, whatever. Maradona 79 Calciatore and a 4 goes for $550. Above that in this row, take your pick. This one is a little bit higher, to be fair. I would spoiler, I would take this one every single day of the week, but I am a simp for 2018 Optic. When we look across the board here, we have a 2021 green Cristiano Ronaldo. To be fair, PSA 10. We have a PSA 10 Dragon Skill Messi from 2023 Donruss out of 8, and then we have a 2018 Optic Gold Cristiano Ronaldo. to be fair, PSA 8, but it is a pop 1 of 1, just one higher. So make of that what you will. Some cool cards in that row. I don't know what I think of the Dragon Scale, to be honest. It's, it's unique, but a lot of things are unique in the 2020 and beyond days. So still interesting, though, and that one actually has the most watchers. Also, probably the Messi hype would have to be a part of that, and the Messi fandom. This one, not as many watchers as anything we're seeing here. This 1 of 1 Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. I wonder if they're going to be sort of like they have been players that are at odds a lot of times, but, something like in basketball, there's a lot of LeBron and Kobe cards that people don't really like because they're kind of enemies to some extent, or their fan bases are. And I think that this is another one where, in theory, it's a great idea, a 1 of 1, a 2 of the GOATs of this generation. But at the same time, does it speak to people? And also, when it's a Leaf card, that is even questioned more. So $900 on that is cool for a 1 of 1 Messi, Ronaldo. I mean, I get it, but interesting to see. We have $930 here on this 2004 SP Authentic Manchester United Cristiano Ronaldo out of 99, BGS 9, all the good stuff. Went ahead and looked it up, and it's a little low compared to some other comps, but if we want to go off this one, that's $900 last year, well, $950 for a PSA 9. There are higher sales at times, especially on a fixed price, but generally speaking, pretty good. Of course, if we go back, it gets a little scary in terms of the booming days, 3,000, 4,000 at times, maybe even 5. At the bottom, though, pre-boom, $46. So, still doing okay. I know they're down a lot from the highs, but at the same time, the highs were typically just a few sales. It dropped quick right here from 5,900 to 1,600. That's a crazy quick drop, and that's actually the same exact card, which makes you wonder. But anywho, we also have the Kylian Mbappe out of 99 field level select that goes for $990. Out of 99, PSA 9 goes for $990. Got all the 9s going there. Sort of one of the forgotten about Kylian Mbappe rookies, at least generally speaking. I don't think a lot of people think of this when they think of Kylian Mbappe rookies, but it is select field level, which a lot of people like, especially 2017, the first year, horizontal. People like it. I think from the rookie collector / investor point of view, they like a lot of the vertical cards and probably don't take as much to the horizontal, but I like this one. Again, not something I'm actively chasing, but at the same time, it is a card I respect and have always thought pretty fondly of. Above that in this row, a couple Messis here to start us off. We have a Kaboom 2021 PSA 9 that goes for $1,000. Looked this one up and was interested because this one is basically, you can look at on the side, but it has been smack dab at 1,000 for as long as time is told. There are a couple sales back here at the beginning at 1,600, but literally right after that they go to 900, and they have been there ever since. So, I don't know how that makes me feel. To one extent, it's good that it hasn't dropped, but it's also interesting that it stayed exactly at the same spot, but not risen at all. So, you can view it both ways, I guess. Beyond that, you have a 2004 Este here, BGS 8.5 that goes for $1,500. This is actually an Este sticker that I had owned prior, a BGS 8.5 that also has some pretty good subgrades. An 8 centering, 9.5 on the rest of them, also notably graded before stickers were ever faked. You do have to be weary in terms of early sticker grading if they're trimmed or anything like that, but, being this off-center, it's certainly not trimmed. Goes for $1,500, which is a respectable price, I guess, for a BGS sticker. 8s probably do $1,500 to $2,000 from a PSA standpoint, so an 8.5 doing this isn't that bad. Again, obviously I'm biased since I owned it at one point, but I owned it because I thought it looked pretty good. The subgrades were good. It didn't look all that wavy in a slab, so I think whoever got that, if you've been looking for an Este sticker, it's a good one to go for. Also, PSA's grading them again, so if you feel confident about it, could crack it, could sub it if that's in the cards. Beyond that, this one struck me as a significantly high price. This $2,000 2014 Prism Green Crystals Brazil team photo. It says jersey number, which I think is an egregious thing to say because, it's a team photo. Like, come on. Half the things could be jersey number. To be fair, this is Neymar's jersey number, so I get that. I think it has some more meaning. But man, we've seen good Neymar cards sell the last few months, and typically they do, $500 to $1,500, like good cards, like Prism Golds and stuff like that. Now, not 2014 Prism Golds, but like a 2018 Prism Gold or a Gold Laser or like just so many different cards. And for this one to do $2,000, I was sort of struck by it. I'd be interested what you guys think. I do think the jersey number probably helps, but at the same time, I just wonder, how many people from Brazil are really hyped about the 2014 performance. I don't think it's many. But of course, the color match, the green crystals, the Brazil 2014, I mean, it all sort of makes sense. I think that if they performed better, it would have been a lot cooler of a card, but at the same time, it is still a cool card. Just a really high price, I feel. But again, if you bought it, congrats. As long as you enjoy it, that's what it's all about. Then the second to last row, we have a upper echelon Lionel Messi 8.5 that goes for $2,000. Not a whole lot that I can add on that one. Decent price, but also an on-card Messi from 2019. The auto looks pretty decent as well. I will add that. The one next to it is the Titularis PSA 4 Pele that's gone for $2,100. We've seen a fair few of the 4s go recently. They've gone anywhere from 2 to 3K for the most part. I think we've seen maybe 2 or 3 already go in the last, say, 5 to 6 months, which is kind of crazy because before that, I don't think I was seeing many high-grade Titularis at all, especially not the headshot, but this one you see a little bit more often. Next to that, we have the Immaculate Boot Bronze Cristiano Ronaldo Patch Auto BGS PSA Authentic Auto 9, numbered out of 7. So this is a pretty cool card. Most notably, on-card auto, also a match-worn boot relic, so those are going to add huge premiums, and rightfully so. I don't think the grading does it a lot of favors, but, these types of cards, people do prefer to have them graded, and reasonably so I get it. But really cool to see, and interesting in terms of price, because the Flawless Souls of the game for Ronaldo go around the same price, and, I find that intriguing. While the Flawless Soul of the game may be a little bit more prominent, this is also a lower numbered card and looks pretty good as well. Also have the vertical action shot going, which is cool. And then finally in the top 3, I hate seeing reruns in the top 3. It just instantly demoralizes me a little bit, but this Pele I'm pretty sure is a rerun. We've seen, I say that, but, the cert number is really recent. But I do think we've seen this exact one sell recently. It was a huge auto. I'm just going to say it's the same one. I didn't check, but, you can if you want to. We saw one recently, and this one presumably as well, go for a pretty decent number. Nearly 5K. But I will say it is a nice looking Pele auto, at least compared to most. He has a lot of shaky autos later on in life, and this one looks really good. Also has the pen going for it, which depending on how you view the pen, I don't think pens look as good typically as some of the, sort of Sharpie-like objects, but also with the pen, you do get a little bit more vintage nostalgia going on. Personally, I would prefer if the signature was a little smaller. I think it intrudes on the face and the picture as well, but, beggars can't be choosers, so to get a Pele rookie auto is really, really cool. Next to it, we have a Cristiano Ronaldo Gold Select 2017 out of 10 that goes for $4,800 here. Pretty cool card. On-card auto out of 10 as well. Not a jersey number. I think it was number 9 out of 10 if we go ahead and look. Yes, it was. 10 on the auto, which is also pretty slick, and in terms of past comps, we had a Raw go for $2,300 earlier this year. Internet's being a little laggy, but you can take my word. There it is. Looks really good as well. Not the same card, but, the same type of card, of course. Beyond that, $3,000, $4,000, $2,000, $4,000. We did have a $12,000 sale, which is pretty crazy, but there was a time where golds were just doing crazy numbers, and I think that that's what we were looking at there. And then finally, to top the list here, we have a 2022 Eminence Grand Signatures Lionel Messi from his World Cup winning year. This card goes for just a little under $8,000. And a pretty cool one at that, of course. We do have some sales history to look at, and we actually had this one sell before. So these are both white or black boxes. I don't know the difference, to be honest, but they're both one-of-ones that aren't releasing the product, and Panini gives it to people for whatever, I don't know. Just make goods for whatever they're feeling like. But those went for $8,000, $9,000. This one goes for $8,000 as well, and sales before this were $12,000 and $9,000. So ultimately on the lower end of these sales. Now, it was the same card to sell here. This is number 4 out of 10, sold for $12,000 on Golden last year, and now sold for $8,000, a little bit under that, on PWCC this year. So that's a little over a $4,000 loss, plus whatever, fees and whatnot. So probably closer to $5,000. Not a great sale there, at least if you're the seller. If you're the buyer, could be interesting. I will say, I think that the Golden image looks a lot better, which for cards and this type of stuff matters a lot. Look at that image. Looks really good. You get the refractor going on here on the sides. You can see all these different colors in this metally sort of image. You also have a really nice close-up of it. I also think that they sort of add saturation and stuff to it, which, hey, do whatever you want to do. But compared to this picture, this looks terrible. You don't have the colors. You don't have the up-close imagery. I also think that this NBA thing just looks so tacky. I understand you want to do it, you want to make things more safe. Just add that it's authenticated in it. You don't have to put that up there, because especially on $8,000 to $10,000 card. I don't want to see this BGS 8 looking sort of slip. Like the BGS 8s, whenever you get really far down there, they look terrible. And I think it takes away from it, and I think it also takes away from it here. Now, is that why it sold cheaper? I don't know. I think it plays a factor, and I don't think it helps, but at the same time, maybe that's just sort of the path it was destined to be anyways, so who knows. Nonetheless, that will do it for this week. Let's go ahead and look at next week. I haven't given it a peek, I don't believe yet, so we start off with a couple of Leafas here, a PSA 1 Pele and a PSA 7 Garincha. The Garincha's really high because there was a 7 that sold before and was already less than that, so that's kind of impressive. A red and black back Pele and a PSA 6 goes for $9.25. Hopefully no one gets confused. The red and blue back is the rare one. Whenever they put red and black in huge letters, I think people might sort of think that that's similar, but it's not at all. Beyond that, we have a Nina Pele, which is a cool one to see. We have another white Kylian Mbappe. We have a PSA 8 Messi, Mundi Chromo, a 277 crack. A really cool looking patch here from Gareth Bale. And for sure, some good odd and ends in between. A Maradona Calciatore, a Messi Eminence auto. Oh, Tim Howard, flawless. I like it. But yeah, a lot of fun ones throughout, so I'm excited, and hopefully you are too. As always, if you enjoy these again, make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. Anything you thought about the auction, something you thought sold high, low, maybe something you snagged, would love to hear about it down below. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.